Welcome to the Guilbault Girls Show, where you will have the opportunity to hear from mothers, fathers, siblings, and individuals themselves about their journey of living with a disability. I know, it's called Guilbault Girls, but we have a bonus for you as we get the Guilbault boys to interview some of the dads and siblings to get their perspectives too. We'll also have special guests from time to time to share the many resources that are available to those living with a disability and their families. So get ready to laugh, smile, cry, maybe even get a little angry when you hear some of those stories of their day-to-day struggles. But let's not forget their many triumphs. As they say, it takes a village, and if it weren't for our village, we wouldn't be where we are today. So join us. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Guilbault Girls. I'm your host, Karen Guilbault, and today's guest is Elizabeth, and can you pronounce your last name?
Chaillou.
Chaillou. Okay, thank you, because I would not have said it that way.
You're welcome.
Liz and her husband, Justin, of almost 20 years, both grew up attending Mount Zion Church right here in Bel Air, Maryland. When Liz was 19, she went to serve at Mount Zion's Children of Zion Village in Namibia for 6 months. When she returned, the two started dating, and 4 months later, they were engaged and married shortly thereafter. That's awesome. And how many years have you been married now?
It'll be 20 in September.
That is so awesome.
They're 20 years. Yeah.
Awesome. So both Liz and Justin had the desire early on in their marriage to foster. And today we are here to talk about that journey. So welcome. Thank you for being a guest on the show and willing to share your testimony because it's very powerful. I go to her church and I got to hear her testimony. And I loved him. Like, I have to have you on my show. So, we can learn a lot about kindness, generosity, and love from foster parents. They open not only their hearts, but their homes. This kind of hits home to me just because I was a treatment foster care recruiter for 5.5 years for the Arkner and the Chesapeake region. So I'm all about this. So you stated that both of you had the desire to foster early on. How did that play out?
Yes. So even when I came back from Africa, I did have a desire to foster because I was working in an orphanage and God really allowed me just to have a heart for fostering. I had thought about adoption, but I truly just had it. I didn't think I was equipped enough to adopt. So I knew I wanted to foster. So Justin and I, when we were dating, we started talking about fostering, and he had always had that desire too. So the first year of marriage, we talked about it, we prayed about it, and we actually took the classes to become foster parents. We did the home study. Yes, we did the home study. We did the fire marshal came to our apartment at the time. But then shortly after, we got pregnant with our first daughter, Hope. So then we kind of put it on the back burner for years. So we truly didn't get licensed until 2018. So we waited years, 10 years, until we took the classes again and got licensed and certified to become Harford County foster parents.
That's awesome. So how old? So you had one child before your biological child before you started fostering?
So we had 3. So we had our daughter Hope, our daughter Joy, and our son Luke. And when Luke was in kindergarten, Hope was in 6th grade, Joy was in 5th grade, Luke was in kindergarten. That's when I stopped working my full-time job at the nursing home. And I became a stay-at-home mom, and we took the classes that spring because we knew that we wanted to get licensed for infants. So we chose to do 0 to 2, but we had a heart to foster babies. And in order to foster babies through Harford County DSS, they really like you to be a stay-at-home mom because some of these babies might come to you and you might have to do doctor's appointments, and they just want you to start them just with as much success as possible. So I became a stay-at-home mom. We took the classes and we were so excited. Like, even when we were taking the classes, like our family, even our kids, Hope, Joy, and Luke, they were so excited that babies would start coming to our house. And we were so innocent and so naive in the very beginning. But we were just so excited to finally have a goal that we set years ago take shape, and we finally were so excited to become foster parents.
That's awesome. So tell us what it was like to get that first foster child in your home, but more importantly, tell us her story and where she is today when it comes to Faith.
Okay. So Faith, who is our daughter, was our first foster baby. We got a phone call on September 18th is Justin's and my anniversary. And Harford County Public Schools were closed that day. So Justin and Hope, Joy, Luke, and we all went to Hershey Park for the day. And that day, on September 18th, I prayed when we were eating lunch. I said, Lord, I just pray for a baby right now. Whatever baby we're going to get, Lord, I just pray that you be with them. And I didn't think anything of it because we were licensed in July, but we hadn't gotten a call for a baby. And it was already September. So my personality is just I really wanted to get a baby. So that was September 18th. 5 days later, I get a phone call from my worker at the time, Brenda. And she said, Liz, I have a baby for you. And she was giving me all the information of Faith. And she said she was actually born in Cecil County, but her biological mom is a resident in Harford County. So she will be placed with a Harford County home. Would you want her? But they just didn't have any of the family history at that time yet. So she just said, all we know is that she's a substance exposed baby and she is in need of care. Mm-hmm. And I just assumed the baby was born that day. And then Brenda said she was actually born on September 18th. And I said, oh my gosh, I prayed for a baby on September 18th. So the fact that Faith, I know, the fact that Faith was born on our anniversary was so special to Justin and I. And it was so special to Faith's biological mom. She needed that sign. She needed that comfort to know that this date is just a very special date. So I went to the hospital to pick up Faith. And right when I went into the room, I fell in love instantly. The nurses on staff just were giving me all of her medical records, letting me know everything that has happened the first 5 days. But Faith actually had to stay in the hospital for 2 weeks because she was on morphine to get the drugs out of her system. So I would go to the hospital and visit her, and then we finally were able to take her home when she was 2 weeks old. So at discharge, the doctor told me to do skin to skin with her, do everything I would like I would do with my biological children. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was so strange. I didn't know I was allowed to do that. So I did exactly what the doctor said. I did skin to skin with Faith. Justin did skin to skin with Faith, and all of our kids, Hope, Joy, Luke, we all did skin to skin with her.
That's so special.
Those first few months. And I'm so thankful that we did, because we had no idea when we brought her home that her plan would go adoption. So I'm just so thankful that I listened to the doctor and that we treated Faith just like I birthed her. Mm-hmm. So fostering opened up my eyes to realize you do not have to birth a child to have this unconditional love for them. So yes, those first few months, Faith was not a typical drug exposed baby. Okay. Faith was such an easy baby. Even like the classes would warn us that some of these drug exposed babies, they are hard. They are tough. Faith had no signs of that. She just was hitting her milestones on time. We were just all so impressed that this was a quote unquote foster baby. Like things were just so easy. She always was just such an easy baby. And we just all fell in love so quickly with Faith.
So as she got older, and it depends upon when you can when you want to proceed in how she is now. And you said she hit her milestones. Now, is there any other underlying or anything going on with her now?
It's so, so Faith's biological mom, she would have a 1 hour visit every week through Harford County DSS. And the social worker would be at that visit. But Faith's biological mom actually asked me to stay for the visits.
Okay.
She was just a young woman just struggling. And I was so thankful that she asked me to stay. I would just turn on Lauren Daigle worship songs, and we would have that in the background. And her and I just would talk. I got to know her. She got to know me. And I asked a lot of questions. I asked Faith's biological mom and Faith's biological grandmother if there was just any mental health background that was in their family. But thank God there was not. It just Faith's biological mom just had an injury and she started on prescription medication, and it just turned into just a very deep addiction. Um, so I loved Faith's biological mom so much. She could have she could have had other choices to make, and she chose to keep this pregnancy. So I have always told people Faith's biological mom and my other daughter, Glory's biological mom, they are heroes to me because they knew the lifestyle that they were living, that their babies would be taken from them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she chose to deliver Faith, and it made me just love Faith's biological mom so much.
Much even more.
So we, so, Faith went to all of her well visits. Everything was going on track. It's kind of funny. Justin and I have said Faith has hit her milestones quicker than our three biological children. So, like, you would never know she was a quote unquote foster baby. Even my mom said at one point years ago, Faith is my smartest grandchild when she was like 3. Like, out of all of the grandkids at 3, Faith was like the smartest one. So it is just a miracle. It is truly a miracle that Faith is just where she is to this day. So now she's 5 years old. You would never know that she was a drug exposed baby. You would never know. She'll start kindergarten in the fall. Faith has just the biggest heart possible.
Mm-hmm.
Faith reminds me, so Faith looks a lot like my oldest daughter, Hope,
Okay.
to where, like, at Christmas time, when we pull out Christmas ornaments, when we look at baby pictures, we cannot tell which one is Hope and which one is Faith. So they look so much alike. And it is so funny. There's times, like, even when me and Faith are out, people will say, when we're at Target or Walmart or anywhere, they'll say, she is your Minnie. And it's so, like,
Yeah.
Faith has a lot of my mannerisms and characters. And so she is such a thriving 5-year-old girl who just loves her family. And we are still an open licensed foster home. So we still take in placements 0 to 2. But the past 2 years, we've done a lot more respite. We've only had one full-time placement the past 2 years, but we do respite very frequently.
And that's
And I really,
so important.
yes, I am so if they call us for a baby, then we will say yes. But we just love having that flexibility of, like, doing respite.
Mm-hmm.
And we so want to stay connected because I always want Faith to see how excited we all get when a baby comes,
Mm-hmm.
just so she will always know this is how it was when we got your call.
Yeah.
When we got Faith's call, we were so excited. We told everybody. And now when we respite, when we get a baby, we all are so excited. So I always want Faith to see this is how it should be.
Yeah.
So, like, we were just so excited for you. And
Yeah.
so Faith is just, she's just a miracle.
How
She
old was she when you adopted her?
so she was 18 months, and it was all like due to COVID. In Maryland, we are a reunification state.
Yep.
So any blood relative, even like now, a close friend of the family can adopt, and they have rights above foster parents.
Hmm.
So Faith's biological grandmother, she actually went through the classes to get Faith.
Okay.
So that was the plan. She was going to get Faith when Faith was 9 months old. So at 6 months old, we knew that Faith's biological mom was not in a place to get her. So Faith's biological grandmother went through the classes and said she would take her. And that May, when Faith was 9 months, Faith's biological grandmother, she said, I can't do this. She said, I live a lifestyle that would be unsafe for Faith due to her daughter living the lifestyle she lived.
Hmm.
Like Faith's biological grandmother was very honest. She said, Liz, I put myself in positions that I wouldn't want to have Faith in.
Yeah.
Because if she doesn't know where her daughter is, she would go to any area to make sure her daughter was safe.
Safe, right.
So Faith's biological grandmother said, Liz, I want you guys to adopt Faith. And I must admit, at 9 months, DSS, we haven't even thrown that word around yet because you don't start using the adoption word until after that first year.
Hmm.
But so Faith's biological mom at 9 months, she signed papers to not get Faith. And that's when we started using the word adoption.
Okay.
And I will be very honest. Right when Faith's biological grandmother and I had that conversation, I was I told Justin, I said, Justin, she wants us to adopt Faith. We're going to adopt her. And my husband at the time said, Liz, we're only fostering. We're not adopting. We signed up to foster, not adopt. And we truly did. You get licensed to foster and adopt, but I kid you not, we threw all the adoption paperwork away because we were not adopting. We were only fostering. So then I was just praying, Lord, change Justin's heart. I really wanted us to adopt Faith, but we weren't going into it to adopt. We were only
Right.
going into it to foster. So then when we had a meeting with the social worker, and the social worker explained to us if we don't adopt Faith, then she would get placed into another foster care home, and we'll be hopeful that they will have success with attachment and engage with her, and then if they want to adopt her, then they would, but if not, then maybe she would get placed to another home. So they just would have to see how that adoption and I'm sorry, how that connection and attachment would work. So right when they explained that all to us, that's all my husband needed to hear.
Yeah.
To know, no, she's ours.
Hmm.
We are keeping her. She is our daughter. So Faye's plan changed to adoption on September 18th at her 12-month court hearing. So, and her biological mom was present and her biological grandmother was present, and they both signed papers that day, and they both consented that the plan changed to adoption.
So you got her.
So,
She was born on September 18th, and then they signed papers on
and then
September the following year. Wow.
the
Okay, go ahead.
following
I
year.
love
So
this.
her plan changed to adoption when she was exactly 1 year old on September 18th. So, but then COVID hit shortly after all that. So we did have to wait several months to adopt her, but we knew she wasn't going anywhere.
Right.
So yes, Faith didn't get adopted until that following March. So we went to the courthouse in Bel Air and we had this beautiful adoption ceremony. And I wanted just to do something special since she was now legally adopted. So I wanted to just do something that we couldn't do while she was technically a foster child. So, in Maryland, you have to get permission to leave the state with a foster child. So, every time we went on vacation, even when we went to Ocean City, when we would cross into Delaware, I would have to get permission. When we would do like day trips to Lancaster, I would have to get permission. So, on Faith's adoption day, we drove out of state and I didn't have to get permission from the social worker. And then we also went to Build a Bear. So I wanted her to adopt a um a teddy bear on the day of her adoption. So but that day it was so special, and Faith's biological grandmother knew the day that we were adopting her. I sent her pictures. She did not come. She didn't feel like it was necessary for her to be there, but she has been along every step of the way. So Faith's biological grandmother and we still text monthly. Um, we are still very much connected in each other's lives. And I'm so thankful for that healthy relationship that we have.
Yeah, because that's important. That's very important. Absolutely. So your family grows once again with Glory. So can you share her story with us?
Yes. So Faith turned one September 18th, and then 1 month later, October. So October 9th, Glory was born. So I get a phone call from Brenda, my social worker, again, October 9th. And she said, Liz, we have another baby. Do you want her? And I said, yes, 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 yes. I want her. I want her. And she said, okay, she'll be ready for you to pick her up in 2 days. And I said, okay, sounds good. And so, I texted my husband at work. I said, we're going to get another baby. I'm so excited. So I got that call on Wednesday, October 9th, when she was born. So then I went and picked her up 2 days later on that Friday. And I had known from the social worker that they have done a family history, and they knew pretty early that she would go adoption,
Okay.
because she had siblings already in care.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal is to keep siblings together.
Together if you can. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in my mind, I thought, okay, we'll have her for a couple of months. And then when that family's, ready to take her, they'll take her. So then when I went to the hospital to pick her up on that Friday, um, the nurses told me that her biological mother left right after she was born because she knew how it worked and she knew she would not get her daughter. So, but poor Glory, she was a substance exposed baby, but she unfortunately could not get any medication to wean herself off of the drugs that her biological mom used. So Glory was an extremely tough baby.
Mm-hmm.
Just the drug of choice her biological mom used, she couldn't have any medication to wean herself off. So she had to wean herself off herself.
Oh.
So poor Glory, those first 5 months, Glory was either sleeping or screaming. There was no in between. And poor Glory, she would itch herself and it broke our hearts just how much she was affected by
Yeah.
this. But so when I went to the hospital to pick Glory up, the nurses were very honest and said, she's going straight adoption. And I said, oh, yeah, 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 I know, but I think a family's going to be ready for her. But I found out, I picked her up on a Friday. I found out later on that day that the family who had her biological brothers, they were not in a position to continue to grow their family. So DSS, was very honest and said, listen, we know she's going adoption. She's yours if you want her. And I said, yes, I do. I want her. I want her. So I literally texted Justin. I said, Justin, this baby's going adoption. She's ours. And we kind of knew how the system was working at that time. And Justin said, well, I can't wait to go home and meet her. So
Aw.
it was all just very fast how quickly it happened. So her plan changed very quickly to adoption. But then again, it was in the midst of COVID. So the courts were closed for several months. So we had to wait several months to finally adopt her. But her plan changed to adoption very quickly. And we knew she was not going anywhere. We
Hmm.
just kind of had to be patient and wait until the courts opened up after COVID in order to adopt her. But we knew literally the day I brought her home, she was going adoption, and we were the family that was adopting her. And it's so funny that foster and adoption world, it's always changing. There's always so much that goes on. So when we try to explain it to our families and friends, it's so confusing
Right.
because they're like, I would say, oh, yeah, we're adopting Glory. But some people would say, well, how do you know? So, well, it's so like, it's just such a interesting world once you
Yes.
understand all of it. So we knew very, very early, right when we brought Glory home, that she was going adoption. But I had always thought she might have some challenges because her those first couple of months were just very hard for her.
Hmm.
So I did think, oh, she could have some delays, because things are just not how it was for Faith.
Faith, right.
Faith, she had no delays, hit all of her milestones early, but Glory just was very different.
Hmm.
And I met Glory's biological mom one time. So Glory was 2 weeks old, and I met her biological mom one visit with the social worker. And after that one visit, I did not hear from her, and neither did DSS. I think Glory's biological mom wanted to meet me, and Glory's biological mom had about 20 questions for me in that one visit. She wanted to know me, my husband, my family. I showed her pictures of our family, and she let me know her favorite food. She let me know the food that she ate during her pregnancy. It was just a very easy 1 hour visit. And I was so happy that she got to know me. I got to know her. And I will tell you, she asked me one question, and she said, if she has autism, what will you do? And when she asked that, I I thought that was an odd question to ask, but I told her, I said, oh, well, my daughter Joy was diagnosed with anxiety and OCD at the age of 7. We started therapy. She started getting the help and the treatment that she needed after that diagnosis. I said, if she is diagnosed with anything, I'll do the same. Will do doctor's appointments, therapy, whatever she's diagnosed with, I'll do whatever. So I wasn't like, I already have a child who was diagnosed, so I'm very proactive when it comes to that.
Right.
So I did want her to know, listen, Joy's already was diagnosed, so if God forbid Glory's diagnosed with something, I'll do whatever it needs, we need
Yeah.
to do. But looking back, because Glory was finally diagnosed with autism when she was 21 months through Kennedy Krieger Autism Center. And that same day she was diagnosed, I thought about that conversation. I thought, how interesting that her biological mom asked this exact question. So, and with autism, I'm 40. When I was young, we didn't have that word. We didn't
Right.
say that word autism. So it just was so interesting to me that her biological mom asked that question. And now Gloria is 4, and she was diagnosed with autism at 21 months. So I always thought that was just so
Yeah. Bizarre.
interesting
Like,
that,
yeah.
that yeah, that was asked.
Yeah. What, so I know both Faith and Glory have very similar backstories when it comes to their biological mothers. Would you be willing to share more about that?
Yes. So both Faith and both Glory, they so Faith was our first foster placement and Glory was our second foster placement. and they both went adoption. And even our social worker said, she has now retired, but she said, I've been working here for 30 years. I've never seen this. I've never seen someone's first two placements go adoption. So I remember she said, God plucked these two and gave them to you
To
and
you.
Justin. But so both Faith and both Glory, both of their biological moms, just were young women, who, um, were substance exposed. They both were, living that lifestyle. But the more I got to know about substance exposed use, it really let me think about, you're just using that from maybe a childhood that was traumatic.
Yep.
So I know that they were only doing what they thought they could to just numb whatever feelings that they were going through, and just to keep on going with this very hard life they both had. But both Faith and Glory's biological moms, um, both Faith and Glory's biological dads were unknown.
Okay.
So Harford County DSS, they did the research, they put an ad in the paper, they questioned people, but so on record, both of their biological fathers are unknown. So 3 years ago, Faith's biological mom passed away. And when I got that phone call, I cried for 6 days straight. I could not wrap my mind around this. I had like a fantasy in my mind that Faith's biological mom would heal and she would be able to see Faith grow, and we would have this life together that they've kind of shared in the classes. Like, because, that's the goal. The goal is for adoptive families and biological families to come alongside of each other and support the child together in a healthy way. So when I found out Faith's biological mom passed away, I could not stop crying. I was just so sad. And then literally 2 weeks later, I get a phone call and say that Glory's biological mom passed away. And again, I was so sad. And I said to the social worker, I said, I need to talk to another foster mom. What other foster mom has gone through this, that has lost a biological parent of their child? Like, I need to talk to someone. And at that time, the social worker said, I can't think of anyone. I don't know. So I did meet with my pastor, because I really had just this unexplainable grief.
Mm-hmm.
And when I would talk to some people about it, some people didn't understand. Like, how are you grieving this much? You weren't close to them. Like, you didn't see them. You
Like
weren't.
you're grieving for your babies that lost their biological mom.
Yes, I I just loved these women so much, and I loved my two girls so much, and I just was so sad that this was the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
of their life, that they both passed away. But then, after I talked to my pastor, and after it took me many, many months to heal and to like start talking about it, I just realized this was not about me. Like, I wanted this life of them to get healthy and come alongside of me. But it really resonated with me. This life was so hard for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be hard for them to, every birthday, every holiday that would come, they wouldn't be with their biological daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So it really dawned on me, this life would be too hard for them to
Mm-hmm.
continue. And me sending pictures of them, of how good their biological daughters were doing, that would be just a wound that would just keep on reopening and reopening. So I really, really had to dig deep in my faith to know I had to accept that this was part of the plan,
Mm-hmm.
for them to unfortunately pass away. But I am just so thankful that they both chose life for both of their girls.
Girls,
They didn't have to, and they did. So they truly are just two of my heroes. And I love them both so much that they birthed both Faith and Glory.
now, did you have any contact or any relationship with Glory's grandparents or anything like that?
No, I did meet her biological grandmother one time, but she was not in a place to be available to get her, because she couldn't get her other grandkids that were already in care.
Okay.
So she unfortunately just was not able to provide in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I am so thankful that I got that one visit with Glory's biological mom,
Mm-hmm.
just so I met her and she kind of shared with me her favorite foods and it was so funny. There was one visit I had with Faith's biological mom, and I forgot to give Faith breakfast at the time. So I said, oh, I'll bring it with us and she can, Faith's biological mother could feed her breakfast. So I brought Faith a banana and strawberry yogurt. And Faith's biological mom brought that same exact breakfast for her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're both eating, they're both eating the same thing
Yeah.
for breakfast. And even like Faith's biological mom told me she liked green beans. Green beans is Faith's favorite
Favorite.
vegetable. And even Glory's biological mom said that she loved Chinese food. Glory loves Chinese food.
Chinese food.
So it's
Yeah.
just the little pieces
Things.
of
Mhm.
information that I have about their biological mom that I'm so happy that I had,
Yeah.
that I had this, because there's still to this day, there's questions that I have. Um, and I may never know those answers. So
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that I met both of them. And I'm so thankful that they both said yes to this pregnancy. And I'm so glad that I met both of them.
Yeah. So how old, as of today, how old are all of the kids? So
Okay. So my oldest, Hope, is 16
16.
and Joy is 15.
Okay.
Luke is 11. Faith is 5. And Glory is 4.
Okay.
And, and I will tell you, so after, when Faith's plan changed to adoption, we knew Glory would go adoption. We did talk to like Hope, Joy, and Luke. And because again, we were not planning on adopting. And when we said, what do you guys think with us adopting? And those three were just they all had a very similar response. They said, well, we thought we were going to adopt them. Why wouldn't
Mhm.
we?
Yeah.
So I've talked to some other families who have adopted, and it can be a struggle for their biological children and the adopted children to connect and attach. And I I take for granted so much just how natural it has been for us.
Hmm.
So Faith truly is our fourth baby. Glory is truly our fifth baby. You would not know that adoption happened for Faith.
Right. Right.
Like you and Glory, you would know just because she is African American.
Hmm.
But they just the natural dynamic that all the kids have, it really is a miracle.
Yeah.
We are so blessed that there's no division.
Hmm.
Um, so I am just Justin and I are so thankful for that yes, we adopted our two younger ones, but you would just never know because our family just is so well
Like a
connected that
well-oiled machine.
yes, yes.
So what is okay, so how many kids have you fostered in the last 6 years? And are you open to still fostering or just respite?
Okay, so we have been a licensed foster home for 6 years, and we have had over 15 kids come into our house. Most of them are 0 to 2. So we've had 15. Um, we are open to have another baby come. We so in Maryland, once you hit the number 6,
Yes.
you cannot um, adopt anymore. Like 6 is like the number that they stick to. So we have one foster slot available. So we do believe we will not adopt anymore because we want to have that one foster slot available
Hmm.
to foster. So if they call us for a baby, we will say yes.
Hmm.
Um, so I love it. I love that first year. I just love that baby face. But for now, like I said, the past 2 years, we've just done a lot of respite, and I love respite too. So
Yes.
that has been very good for our family just to, and again, like even like my 2 teens, I do want them to know like in life, it's not all about us.
Hmm.
Like we will sacrifice certain things when we foster, when we respite, but there's beauty that
In
comes
that.
with, being sacrificing your time and not living a selfish life.
Mhm.
So yes, so we are still opened. We're still licensed. So yes, so we, I just love fostering.
So, for someone who's considering becoming a foster parent, what would you want them to know? Is there one thing that you wish someone would have told you before fostering, whether, the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Well, so with fostering, the goal is reunification. And that can be very hard
Hard.
because it's a very emotional process. Um, but in Maryland, we are a reunification state. So I do think there are some foster parents who may come into it wanting to adopt. And we did not. We did not come into it wanting to adopt. So it was such a beautiful surprise when both our girls went adoption. Um, so that can be very hard for foster parents when you might think a case is going adoption, and then and truly in the 11th hour, a blood relative comes forward. And every time that blood relative will trump a foster parent.
Mhm.
And that, oh, even saying it, that's very hard. It's
Yeah.
very hard as a foster parent to accept. But that's the way that foster care works.
Hmm.
Um, but I, fostering just opened up my eyes to love and unconditional love. I lived a very sheltered life growing up. So did my husband. So when we started fostering, we just saw a different world that we both did not know
No.
growing up.
Hmm.
So just getting to know Faith's biological mom, Faith's biological grandmother, it just really dawned on me just how not everyone has it easy.
Hmm.
And I'm so thankful that they can say their experience with the system was a healthy one, because not every experience is a healthy
Healthy one.
situation.
Hmm.
Um, so it can be hard for foster parents because if you want to adopt, you do want that plan to go adoption. And if it doesn't, there's a lot of emotions, a lot of disappointment. And thankfully, we've had placements that have gone to a healthy family member. And I still get pictures, I still get updates on them. So that is so good. But not every child may go to a healthy situation. So it can be just a very emotional
Roller
process.
coaster. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I got a plaque that said, God's timing is the perfect timing. And because over COVID, I was just so sad. Like, oh my gosh, the courts are closed. Like, we were supposed to adopt Faith that March. So COVID hit March 15th,
Hmm.
and we were supposed to adopt Faith March 17th. So courts closed that Monday. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we were supposed to have court in 2 days. It's so we had to wait a whole another year before we could adopt Faith.
Mhm.
So that whole time over COVID, I just was like, oh my gosh, this is so frustrating. But God's timing is perfect.
Yeah.
And in the moment, when things happen in the time frame we don't want them to, we don't think that.
Uh-huh.
So looking back, it really has let me know God's timing is perfect.
Yeah.
So it just allowed our family more time to connect, more time to grow together. Um, COVID was so good for our family just because Faith was 18 months, Glory was 6 months, and Hope and Joy were in middle school. So even Hope and Joy say they were never bored over COVID. There
I'm
was
sure.
always something to do. Faith wanted to play with them. Glory wanted to play with them. I loved it because
Uh-huh.
we all just, that time together just was so good for our family.
Yeah.
So
Definitely bonded. So before we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to share or any advice you want to give?
So, so with Glory having autism, I, after she was diagnosed with autism, because she still wasn't adopted at the time, the social worker said, all right, are you still going to adopt her? What do you want to do? And I said, oh my gosh, yes, she's my daughter. Like not by the state of Maryland, but she is my daughter. So when she was diagnosed with autism, Kennedy Krieger told us she had to start ABA therapy, OT, speech, all of the therapy for her just to kind of get to the best place for her. But I really grieved that autism diagnosis for many, many months. And I remember, like, I told my husband, Justin, I said, I don't want to be a special needs mom. I didn't sign up for this. So God really had to work on me. Um, I, he, like, I remember thinking to myself, I said yes to Faith. And now, will I not say yes to Glory because she has autism? So God really did a very deep work in me. And for months, I was grieving her diagnosis and I just was sad thinking, this is going to be my life.
Mhm.
Like when Justin retires, we're going to always have Glory. Like I was really having a very, unfortunately long, woe is me moment for
Mhm.
months. And my husband, Justin, was like, what are you talking about? Like, Liz, Glory has given our family, Glory has shown our family so much through her diagnosis. We have seen our four older children, Hope, Joy, Luke, Faith, show Glory love in a way that we would have never seen if Glory wasn't diagnosed with autism.
Mhm.
Justin and I have gotten closer in our marriage because of Glory's autism. So I really had to start praying, Lord, help me see Glory the way that you see her. Give
Mhm.
me new eyes, give me a fresh attitude. I needed that attitude adjustment very fast. And I am so thankful because now with Glory at 4, there is beauty in this lifestyle. There
Mhm.
is beauty in autism. There is beauty in being a special needs mom.
Mom.
And 2 years ago, I would not have said that. I was
Mhm.
still in my own pity party that
Mhm.
this was happening. But
Mhm.
now God truly has given me eyes to see Glory and given me um, a life that is just beautiful with autism. I am not overwhelmed by her diagnosis anymore. I am truly learning just to take life day by
By
day.
day. Mhm.
Um, because I have a very type A personality. I need to keep seeing growth. I need to keep seeing goals. And for Glory with autism, her milestones and growth take a lot longer.
Longer. Mhm.
And I have had to accept that and see the beauty in that.
Mhm. Yep.
Um,
And you're gonna have periods too where you're gonna grieve all over again at different ages. And because that's what
yes.
I've been faced now, 20. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's times where it just hits you. It's like, oh yeah.
Uh, Yes, yes. And I remember Justin said to me the day of diagnosis, Justin said, Glory is the same girl she was yesterday and the same girl she is today. Like for Justin, it was just so simple. It
Hmm.
wasn't, he wasn't even fazed by it. But for me, I just had a lot of deep grief that I had to work through.
Hmm.
And God really has done a lot in my life to get to a place now to where I look at Glory the way that God wants me to look at her.
Hmm.
So I am so, I never would have thought I would say I'm so thankful to be a special needs mom and for autism to be a part of our family. But God has done such a tremendous work in our family. And I would not see certain characteristic traits out of my older kids, out of my husband, if Glory wasn't diagnosed with autism.
Right.
So I am just so thankful for the support that our family has gotten so close through fostering, through adoption.
Mhm.
So I am so thankful for both fostering and adoption so much.
Oh, I love your story. I love it.
Thank you.
So, as a token of appreciation for being a guest on the show, I gift all my guests with my intent token where I stamp their word one letter at a time into the token and put it on a bracelet
No.
or a keychain. So, with that being said, what would be the one word that's most meaningful, or, it could be any word, a word that you can look at every day for you to be reminded of?
Okay. Um, love.
Love. And why
Love.
would you choose love?
Um, God has just shown me unconditional love through my husband, through all of my kids, through this whole journey. So just the love that um God has allowed me to give to both Faith and Glory has just been unexplainable. So I I love this life that God has given me. So I'm just I'm so thankful for it.
Aw. Well, I love that. And on a side note, we're actually getting ready to do a Bible study called "When God Doesn't Fix It" by
Mm,
Laura Story.
mm,
So I'll talk to you about that after if you want to join us, because there's going to be a
yes.
few special needs parents that are going to be doing it. So
Oh, oh,
yes. So I want to thank you
oh,
so much for
oh,
coming on the
thank
show
you.
today and for opening up and sharing your journey. Because I just think it's so important. It takes a village, and we need to
Mm.
always be connecting with one another. And so, thank you so much. I
Oh,
appreciate it,
thank
and I
you.
appreciate
Thank
you.
you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank
You're
you.
welcome. Okay, everybody. Till next time. We'll see you soon.
Mhm.
Thank you for joining us as we spread awareness through our personal stories and the many resources shared. You can help us by joining our village simply by sharing our show with the masses. You can also become a supporter of the show by clicking on the link in the show notes. Your funds will allow us to keep sharing these valuable, heartfelt stories and resources. Be sure to subscribe to our Guilbault Girls podcast and YouTube show, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Guilbault Girls.